Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I feel very honored to be here and talk to you about the topic of employer engagement. My name is Andreas Slotosch, and I'm CEO and partner at Beekeeper. Beekeeper is an ETH spin-off. We are based in Zurich in Switzerland, and we are really passionate about the topic of engaging employees in the company. Just imagine you have a very beautiful hotel, maybe similar to this hotel, and you're really loving your hotel. You're thinking you have one of the greatest hotels in the world. Your hotel is placed here, maybe in beautiful Vienna, maybe in Berlin, maybe in Zurich. And you're also thinking that you're convinced that your customers are also loving this place. But you never really ask your customers. So you go on a portal like TripAdvisor or any other platform where you can see the ratings for your hotel. So you go on the platform looking for your hotel, and then you see the ratings. You're kind of shocked because only 14% of the people that have been to your hotel really like your hotel. And about 74% weren't that happy. They will never come back, and their reviews were so-so. And 12% of your guests really hate the stay at your hotel. So they are writing bad reviews and are convincing other people not to come to your hotel. But why am I telling something on that is looking at the customer side? Because that's a perspective many companies have. And if you look inside the company, you have these numbers for employer engagement in Austria. These are the average numbers for Austria. So you have, in average, only 14% of employees that are really engaged in the company. You have 74% of employees that are not engaged, that are doing the work more or less good, but they're not really engaged with your company. And you have 12% of employees that are really disengaged, actively disengaged, and working against your company. And we think that's a big, big problem. And we really have to think about this. And also, if you take a wider look and looking at the costs of this, here are numbers from the US. So the costs for employer disengagement in the US in 1 year are around $500 billion US. That's a huge amount of money. And if you just look at the cost for staff turnover, they're around 11 billion. And if you look on the brighter side, you have a lot of possibilities if you increase the employer engagement. Increased employer engagement can increase your productivity up to 21%, reduce your sick days, and also the accidents at your company. So it has a big impact on your outcome, on your business outcome, but also on the health and many other things of your company. And why are the companies so bad in doing employer engagement? Well, many companies think they can do it just a short campaign, or they're doing completely the wrong thing, or they're doing nothing, which is even worse. They just focusing on the customer side and doing nothing for the employees because they think we are paying our employees, so it's enough to do this, and then they have to be happy, then they have to be work for me, but that's not enough. And we at Beekeeper thinking about this every day. How can we help companies to improve the employee engagement? And as we're a tech startup, we love to build tools. We love to build software solutions to address this topic and to provide these solutions to companies to increase the employer engagement. But we also know that just a tool, just a software isn't enough. So we are thinking a bit further. We also support the companies with different methods to increase the employee engagement. What do you see here? I think you see a smartphone. It's a smartphone by one of the most successful companies in the world. And yeah, maybe you see a nice picture here. But we at Beekeeper see a lot more. We call it an employee engagement machine. And I think employee engagement is a big word, but we live in a great time where almost everybody has a smartphone, or at least a mobile phone. And this enables the companies to really reach everyone in the company. And last week I've been to London. I left the tube and climbed the escalator. And in front of me there was a group of workers, the one with a red clothes and dirty hands. And almost 1 second, only 1 second after entering the escalator, they took their smartphone and were reading messages and chatting with friends. And we use this trend that everybody now has a smartphone that can be connected with the company to increase employee engagement. And we built a platform, a mobile platform that contains a social element and a messaging part, but it also contains an analytic dashboard where you can measure the whole communication, where you can identify topics of the communication, where you can build segments based on topics, based on interaction, and to reach your employees in a very specific and very targeted way, and to engage the employees in this way. And well, we think communication is one of the keys to a successful employee engagement, so that you can reach your employees, that you can bring your message to each employee, and that is not enough. To be successful with this communication, you need a specific culture. You need an open culture of communication where everybody should be involved. And you need a communication, especially if you use this kind of social platforms where everyone is on the same level, so that the person that is working in your hotel is cleaning the floor or the toilet also has the option to contribute to this platform and to talk with the other people. And that is why we think it's very important to connect everyone in a company. The second thing that is very important for us is trust. You are only successful with employee engagement if the people trust. But what's that a blue car to do with trust? A nice blue car. I think almost everyone here, if he wants to buy this car, he can go to a car dealer, and yeah, maybe he wants to choose another car, but if he has the money, he can buy the car. And everybody would trust that he is able to do this. But if you enter a company, you're losing this ability. If you want just to buy a new chair for your office, you have to fill out a lot of forms. You have to ask your manager. And that's not the way trust happens in a company. You really have to enable your employees to do their work the way they want to do it. And we think that has a lot to do with trust. Third, it's very important to measure the things. As I already said, we are a tech company and we are very focused on analytics. So it's important to measure the things you're doing in employee engagement, and also to better understand the motivation behind these things. So a great way, and many companies are already doing this, is doing kind of employee engagement surveys, and to understand with the service the motivation of your employees. But the problem with this service is that many of the surveys are done only once per year or only every 2 years. And you need a tool that can measure employee engagement much more often on a weekly basis or at least on a monthly basis. And that's why we also implemented a survey or a poll solution where you can measure this engagement. And we're using the employer Net Promoter Score. Maybe you have heard about the Net Promoter Score in marketing. And we're using this concept for internal communication. So the question for this score is, what's the likelihood that you would recommend your company to a friend or colleague from 1 to 10? And 10 is best. And then you can calculate an average of these numbers, and you have a really good indicator about the employer engagement at your company. Fourth, listen. To measure is very important, but it's also important to really listen to your employees. So you can do this by talking to your employees, understand their motivation, because their motivation to go to work is often not the same as your motivation. And a great example how you can do this is a company, for example, that is Evernote, also a software company, and they do have a program where every manager has to go to the cafeteria and give coffee or tea to the employees at least once a month, and to encourage and foster this dialogue with the employees and the management, so that they better understand the employees and their motivation to work for the company. You also can do the same thing on a platform like ours, where you see a lot of content, where you can read this content, where we help you with analytics to aggregate this content and yet really understand the motivation of your employees. But all these things are nothing if the employees don't understand the meaning of their work. Make meaning to the work. When you have a why for your work, then you can really work hard and understand why you're working so hard. And we installed our platform, for example, for a big hotel chain for about 50,000 employees, where everybody has access to the platform, from the lady who's cleaning the floor or the toilet to the top management. And it's a great way for them to show how beautiful the hotels are, what a great company they are. And that also, if you're only cleaning the floor, that it contributes to the success and to the customer satisfaction of this whole company. And it's even more interesting in this case because it's a global company with hotels, with 110 hotels worldwide. And then you can also see that you're not just contributing to your place, you're contributing to the whole brand of these hotels. And maybe just remember how important is this, because if you understand the meaning of your work, you feel ownership of the things you are doing. And nobody ever washes a rental car. And engagement is about perceived ownership. So give meaning to the work the employees are doing, and they will do a better job. And last but not least, recognition is very important. Employees work every day for you. They work hard for you, and they should be recognized every day. And it should be done in the moment, in the context, and it should be authentic. So one option is to do this with just a thank you, which is always very important. But you can also do this with this kind of platforms we are offering. Though, if I'm going back to the example with the hotel chain, with a global hotel chain, there, if one employee is doing well, they can post it on the platform, and it can be seen by everyone in the world. So it's a great way to do recognition, employer recognition. On this platform, you can also add different badges or tags to profiles, and to do this in a digital way. But as I mentioned before, we think this is a great way to do it with a tool. You still have to do it in a personal way, and both things will help you to increase employer engagement in your company. Oops. Engagement is not an event. So you have to start maybe with a great campaign, but it's a never-ending journey. So it's a process, and you have to work on employer engagement every day to make your employers happy, to make them engaged, to make your company a better place to work. Because your employees are the most important resource of your company, and I think it's worth it. Thank you for your attention, and I really loved to talk to you about employer engagement.